Man, what is going on? We are back, Black in the building. Man, another day, another 10 cents. We made it back. Hey, you already know I'm hit y'all with it. Did Jesus come back today? Did he really make it? You've been doing all this speaking in tongue and all this bullshit. But you already know, dominant society still going oops upside your head. I said oops upside your head. Man, what is going on? Shout out to everybody out there. Erica, I read that message on YouTube. Yeah, man, you know, we be trying to get it on the spaces. Shout out to my brother David from No Comp. Shout out to Tazi, Shana, Tamisha, Mariah, Erica, all the people that's out there all over the United States of America. I got nothing but love for you. Man, it's been a very busy week. Been on them spaces, kind of heavy. Man, shout out to everybody out there, man, that's trying to handle business. Man, we gonna get into it. We gonna talk about taking the culture back. We have to get into that. We're gonna talk about a lot of things, man. You know what I mean? A lot. We're gonna get into. There's a lot of things that I want to discuss. One of the main things that I want to discuss. I've seen a lot of FBA people been going in on Fat Joe. We're gonna talk about that, man. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about. There's a lot of things we're gonna talk about. I would like to talk about. Here, I'm throwing trash in some of these pictures. We're gonna talk about not just taking the culture back, but talking about taking our racial pride back. Having racial pride in being a foundational Black American and being happy and being proud. I see a lot of tethers and sambos and coons and immigrants are getting very upset about what's going on. We gonna talk about it, man. I'm gonna get into it. Let's get into it. Hey. All right, let's cut this down. Yeah, man, I was watching this. Not watch this thing. I watched my timeline feed, not on Twitter, but on this. I get news reports all the time. So they'll give me, like on my news feed, it'll just be things that have come across. And what has come across is the point that I've been trying to make. David, follow me with this, man. Tasha, follow me with this. Okay, now let's check. Let's break it down. On my time feed, if anybody has watched Jamie Foxx show, the girl Fancy, Garcelle Bouvet, the Haitian immigrant. Well, she's on this show where it's nothing but a whole bunch of motherfucking white bitches on there that got money and status. And what I liked about reading this news article, I read several of them, because one of her kids was on drugs or whatever, and then she had these younger kids by a white man or whatever, and started doing a little research, but she has left some slick comments about Will Smith and wrote this book. And then I didn't like the comments she made. She made these comments on this show called The Real, when I forgot what the rapper's name is, but his girl had bought him like 17 acres of land in Tennessee or something. And she had made a sideswipe comment of like, oh, I don't think you have to really know somebody to do that. And it's like, wait, first of all, that's FBA business. Don't worry about what we doing. And that's when I was like, this all makes sense about what Dr. Claude Anderson teaches and talks about. You have these immigrants that come over here and they loathe to be long to be like the dominant society. And in their minds and in their hearts, they feel like they're better than foundational Black Americans. That's why, hence, anytime a Haitian immigrant or a Nigerian immigrant or something, when they accomplish something, they always speak from their racial pride. Oh, I'm Nigerian. Oh, I'm Haitian. Oh, I'm Jamaican. Oh, us Jamaicans, we're fast. And, or us Nigerians, I've already talked about this. Now, I remember I told people a long time ago, man, I used to work with this dude. His grandfather was the governor of Las Vegas. And he said something real profound to me in 2003. And he told me, he said, my grandfather and my dad taught me that if a Mexican don't have a gardening tool in their hand, they don't fucking belong here. And my grandfather also told me that he remembered when Las Vegas was just whites and blacks and not all these other immigrants. Now, this is what was told to me. But it's so funny because when you're dealing with other racial groups, they just feel like they're so much better than black folk, but you're not understanding that white folk really don't like you. They really don't respect you because you don't belong here. And you got your nigga wake-up call, Garcelle Bouvet. Motherfuckers start going in on you, calling you an immigrant, you don't belong here, and you culturally appropriating. That's what you get. That's what you get, Garcelle, for speaking on FBA business. See, we have to learn this. We have to take back the culture. If you notice, when you look at native blacks in the hip-hop industry, the Ludacrises, the David Banners, the Public Enemies, even the Jay-Z's, you start looking at them, they're embedded in the culture, so it's rich. And then you start looking at people like Shine Barrows. I was watching this documentary about McAfee, and they had Shine Barrows' dad in there. And it's so funny. I'm not saying that people can't change. Hey, what's going on, my brother David? I see him. I'm not saying that people can't change. What I'm saying is Shine Barrows came out with nigga this and nigga that, and nigga, and what you know about holding down big tech, big vest, hollow tip, ball up in that kid neck. Flows lit it up. Long John Silver's up. It's the kid. Nigga what? Nigga this. Nigga that. That's all he was saying, right? Then he gone Drink Champs. He shaved his mustache. Don't want to say nigga. He reverted back to his non-foundational Black American hairline. You know what I mean? You see that. You said, well, then why don't you just do that from the beginning? And this is what we need to understand. See, just like they told that actor, Fancy from the Jamie Foxx show, you an immigrant. You don't belong here. Now you want to cry racism and all that shit. This is what I want to say. Bitch, you don't even belong on that show. That show is for women, white women that got real wealth, and you don't have that. So stop fronting and acting like they probably propped you up on that show as some type of diversity bullshit. And now motherfuckers is irritated with you, and now they let you know what it is. And no, we're not coming to your help and your defense. Because when you do something great, you claim that you're a Nigerian or you're Asian. It ain't just, us black folk, we smart. No, us Haitians, that type of shit. So if that's how you feel, I always say this, and I mean it, and I stick by it. Then go to your country and build up your country. Don't come over here for years and years and years, and you can't make it over here. Then you want to go back over to your country when shit ain't working out for you over here. Because me, in my personal opinion, oh yeah, your brother Akon, he said some real slick shit. Like, we need to forget slavery. Yeah, you lucky Suge Knight ain't back, because I just have Suge Knight give you a call like he did before when you owed him some money. Akon is full of shit. And he can take his black ass back to where the fuck he came from, too. Tired of all these tethers and coons and sambos. Just, man. coming over here, doing all this bullshit. You know, that's why I like David Banner. That's why I like Ninth Wonder. I like these foundational Black American producers, rappers, because they keep the culture rich. And then what I love about David Banner is that he is very, very, very intricate in having that restoration and intrinsic value in us and in our culture. I remember one time David Banner said something. He was like, hey, man, you know, when Timberland did that music for Justin Timberlake, that shit was jamming. He said, I couldn't even front, that shit was jamming. But damn, you can't do that for us? You know what I mean? And that's what I mean. There's a lot of stuff that going. I see this shit. You got the Akon shit. He say slick shit. You know, now you have Fat Joe, me, and my brother David from No Comp. That's his podcast, No Compromise TV. We've done several spaces, and I want to continue to do that because they see. The one thing I noticed about Fat Joe, he's starting to block people because why you blocking people? You can call them trolls, but the thing that I disagree with about what Fat Joe is doing, you're basically trying to take credit for something you didn't create. You know that, and you know there was a lot of vitriolic, racist, anti-black feeling towards black folk during the creation of hip-hop. That's why a lot of black people was coming out saying, you know, a lot of Puerto Ricans was coming out saying, yeah, that we was told not to play that music and it's Jungle Bunny music and all that other stuff. I'm not saying every Puerto Rican is racist, but they have a Puerto Rican Day parade, a Puerto Rican pride parade for them and their culture. So which one is it? So you want to, and if Puerto Ricans are so smart, why didn't y'all create this in Puerto Rico? Why did you have to be in the United States of America Incorporated, which foundational Black Americans or Native Blacks or Aboriginal Blacks built this country, and you came over here for unearned benefits, and your families came over here for unearned benefits? So why did you need to come to the United States of America to create hip-hop? Why didn't you just do that shit in Puerto Rico? And then when you start getting into those, I would say, when you start getting to those discussions and started getting, you want to get to the crux of it and get technical with it, then it's, oh, you're being divisive, oh, this, oh, that. But come on, Fat Joe, you cannot be saying that, oh, we deserve 50%. No, you do not deserve no goddamn 50%. Stop, Fat Joe. Stop. And it was up to him and everybody else. They're trying to erase black folk as a whole. You know, motherfuckers like, oh, some of the best rappers, you know, they're non-foundational. Well, not Nas, not Pac, not Hove, shit, not Andre 3000, not, you know what I'm saying? Not Big Boy from Outkast, not Corrupt, not Cube, not Snoop, nigga, not The Game. The fuck y'all niggas talking about? I don't want to hear that shit. The motherfuckers want to claim now all of a sudden. You know why? Let me tell you why. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. Because black folk are starting to accept the fact that, hey, man, we on our own. They don't fuck with us. And we better start having racial pride in ourselves. We better start having racial pride in ourselves. That's why I had a picture of David Banner and I have the picture of Ninth Wonder. Especially David Banner. David Banner loved black culture. David Banner loved being from Mississippi. David Banner talks about intrinsic value and who we are. And that's what I love about David Banner. And now black folk are starting to see, man, we better take some type of pride in who the fuck we are, because these people will take credit for everything. They worse than white folk. I've been thinking really hard about this whole FBA African thing. I decided that I'm going to speak out on this because they're literally trying to discredit blacks over here. Yes, they are. That was my brother David from No Compromise. The homie Bad Boy, he gave him the nickname David from No Comp. So, you know what I'm saying? That's my boy David. That's my OG. Once you, look, I'm going to break this down again, man. Once you start quoting, like David, when you start quoting the books, I bet you Fat Joe ain't read no book about shit. But you want to talk about African hip hop. I mean, if he did, much power and respect too, Fat Joe. But Fat Joe, you're doing too much, my brother. You and Busta Rhymes. Y'all doing way too much. I don't care if Busta Rhymes is God body. Nigga, then you need to go do some more research and some more history. And some more research in your history. And you're an immigrant. first gen, second gen, whatever. Why didn't they do that in Jamaica? This is the thing that I always say. Man, if you have so much pride in your country, this is what I mean about taking back the culture and starting to put the burden of proof on everyone else. Why, Warren? I use this example all the time. I worked around a lot of Latinos and stuff like that. The one thing I learned about Latinos, they got all this pride and all this bullshit. As soon as they get on that corn plantation job, guess who they reflect? Guess who they replicate? Guess what they do? They start acting like the dominant society at them damn jobs. So that racial pride goes out the motherfucking window. So I don't want to hear that shit about, oh, well, you know, racial pride, stop. That racial pride is with conditions. Black folk are the only people that will uphold their culture, their mentality, and their structural belief system no matter where we go. When we believe in something wholeheartedly, we don't give a fuck. And it doesn't mean speaking out. Sometimes it doesn't mean jeopardizing your job or your income. It just means holding the line on people and making them accountable for jumping in and out of our culture. Meaning this, it is very easy for you being a Jamaican or a Dominican or a Haitian. Oh, I'm black, nigga this, nigga that, nigga this. And then we get around the white folk. Oh, I'm Haitian, I'm not black. You know, I've met women like that. I've met dudes like that. I remember when I was at the corn plantation, it's a minute ago, long time ago. And this black girl, like I talked about before, she was Belizean. And she was like, she might have thought that maybe I wasn't black, or I don't know what she thought, but she was just like, yeah, a lot of these motherfuckers in here be speaking Spanish, and they not knowing I'm Belizean, not speak Spanish. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even black, I'm Belizean. And I was like, okay. And she just was like, yeah, because I had to tell her, because they be like, oh, you black. No, I'm not black, I'm Belizean. See, they do not want to identify as black. They don't even do that on the Census Bureau. The majority of these Puerto Ricans, they don't identify as black. They only identify as black when they know our culture stands out comparative to theirs, anybody else's, because their music is salsa music. That's what their music is. It's not boom bap music. It's not hip hop. Stop. I don't care how many Puerto Ricans is in hip hop and all. Man, good for you, but you didn't create it. You're not the author of this narrative. And if you did, you wouldn't be here in the United States of America Incorporated. You're an immigrant. You are here for unearned benefits. If you want to stake claim, and you're like, oh, what you mean? Then I'll just give you Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson. You're here for unearned benefits. You didn't build this country. Why is it we don't just start hitting people with facts? What you mean, Warren? Like this. Slavery by Another Name. Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington. Slavery by Another Name by Douglas Blackman. They Came Before Columbus by Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson. Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson. Why don't you just start hitting them with facts? Don't have me go on. Delmarva's Patty Cannon and the Devil on the Nanticoke River. Patty Cannon wasn't abusing no Puerto Ricans in the 1800s. Patty Cannon was killing niggas. So while y'all here fucking trying to stay claim, see, motherfuckers want to stay claim in the progression of black culture, the positivity in black culture. But then when you start doing a deep dive and reading, they ain't saying shit about no motherfucking Puerto Ricans and no fucking Latinos. They talking about black, Native Americans, indigenous black folk, Native blacks, foundational black Americans, whatever you want to call it. They talking about us. As our brother David from No Compromise talk about Benjamin Madigan, I didn't hear them talk about, oh, well, he a Puerto Rican, so he ain't no threat. No, that nigga built Washington, D.C. And his last name wasn't no Benjamin Perez and Benjamin Cruz or Benjamin Dela Cruz and Benjamin Rivera. No, it was Benjamin Banneker. Stop. That's where you get where y'all think Big Ben the Clock came from. They named that after Benjamin Banneker. Stop. If I'm not mistaken. Maybe I am. But I can tell you this. They wasn't talking about you no Puerto Rican. When I read Slavery by Another Name, they ain't mentioned not motherfucking Puerto Rican or Latino or any other racial group. They mentioned foundational black Americans and how we built the goddamn railroads. Like this white dude trying to say, wow, how we just forced the Chinamen to build the railroads. I was laughing. I'm like, yeah, right. You just going by what your lying ass ancestors told you. Nigga, the proof is in the pudding. You better go read Slave by Another Name. Chain gangs, piercing the pipelines and shit. That shit ain't new. They been doing that. You better go read the book Stolen. You better go read the New York Kidnapping Club and learn about Richard Riker, as in Rikers Island. Shit. When you read Slavery by Another Name, I'm just giving y'all examples. When you read Slavery by Another Name, they gonna talk about, hey man, because we gotta get all these Puerto Ricans up out of here. Because these Puerto Ricans is a real threat. No, they was talking about niggas. They was talking about no motherfucking Puerto Ricans. And this ain't no diss, but I'm just trying to give you the context of what it is. There's too many books out there that talk about that. You got the book Stolen. You got so many books and so many different genres of information. Let me tell you something. Patty Cannon, look, let me tell you something. Patty Cannon, this bitch was so cruel when she had all these slaves and shit. She was basically what Patty Cannon and her crew was doing was robbing slave traders. That's all they was doing. So they wasn't like no Justice of the Peace. They wasn't no Robin Hood. They wasn't nothing like that. They was just trying to make $1 and a profit off black folk as well. Well, when she was kidnapping slaves and shit, she was treating them so fucked up, you know, but her family members still wanted to fuck on the slaves. So some of them slaves was coming up pregnant and having mulatto babies. She was killing the babies. She had so many dead black bodies on her fucking property. It was crazy. When people were trying to cultivate her land, they like, why the fuck is the land not being cultivated? Why is nothing not growing? They started digging up because the land was there were certain parts of the fucking dirt that was sinking. Motherfucker dig up the dirt, it's dead bodies. So stop. And the last time I checked, Patty Cannon and her kidnapping crew wasn't looking for no goddamn Puerto Ricans in North Virginia and West Virginia and fucking Maryland and Baltimore. They weren't looking for no Puerto Ricans. That's why I be laughing when motherfuckers be trying to like claim some shit that they didn't come from. That's why I would only hit Fat Joe and people like Busta Rhymes. Like, I don't care if you are God body. I read this book. They ain't talking about no Jamaicans and no Puerto Ricans. They weren't talking about none of that shit. These were all native black folk. Start hitting people with facts. When you read the book Never Caught, the untold story of Una Judge, she was George Washington's slave and Martha Washington's slave. They wasn't like, oh, well, yeah, we can't. She ain't no threat. She ain't no Puerto Rican, so she ain't no threat. Stop. You're like, well, why are you saying this? Because you have to sometimes dumb it down in just layman's terms. Like, bro, you know, when did y'all get to this country? In the 1900s? Nigga, we're talking about the 1800s, the 1700s. Y'all wasn't nowhere around. And if you were here, it's because we fought to get you here. These white people, why you think them white people, I want y'all to go, whoever, look up Garcelle Bouvet. Talking about, oh, this is racism and all that. That's what the bitch get. I'm not defending that bitch. That's why all them white bitches like, oh, bitch, fuck you. We don't want your black ass on this show anyway, and you are an immigrant. And get the fuck on. Black Power 60s talks about how Fred Hammond helped the other races. They was poor immigrants, including Latinos. Exactly. Fred Hampton came up with the Rainbow Coalition. Then they stole it and took it to some other shit. Cause he felt like, nigga, y'all poor, y'all disenfranchised just like us. But see, that's the thing. You know, sometimes when we try to include everybody, that shit don't go according to plan. No, include your own folk. Let me tell you something. Shout out to my brother, Bad Boy. I was having a little conversation with him, and I told him, I said, look, bro, I'm in here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and there are up-and-coming black businesses, but we don't have a black business community. I already showed you a little bit of the Latino community. Next, I'm going to show you another community, a whole other community, and it's going to fuck you up. And I told him, I said, we don't even have intrinsic value in each other. And he was just like, what you mean? I was like, man, when it comes to black business, we looking at a black business through the eyes of the dominant society. You want to get some free shit, and if you can't get no free shit, you talking shit about it. And I said, case in point, when I was talking about motherfucking CMOS, I was like, man, I like I said, I'm not gonna mention no names, but this one nigga I know, I've known this nigga for a minute. I'm like, hey man, check it out. Oh, I done did some research, man. It's not really good for you. Well, I got it from Dr. Sebi, who is responsible for curing all these major diseases that white folk then made up. So I'm supposed to disregard what Dr. Sebi's saying because you did some research probably on Google? Man, get the fuck out of here. Because that's what niggas do to each other. That's what niggas do. And you think that made me stop making CMOS and selling it to the people that want to patronize my business? No. Do you think that bothered me? No, it did not. Because I'm so used to it because that's what black folk do. Black folk don't want to support each other. Black folk want to support every other business but black folk because we don't want to see each other win. And then when you do take off and you do handle business and you do things accordingly, then all of a sudden, oh, I remember that motherfucker couldn't sell no CMOS, that's other bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what it is. You just have to learn that just because you don't see everybody through the dominant society's eyes doesn't mean everybody else does. Case in point, I remember I worked at this corporate plantation and it was this, girl from the LBGT community and she was trying to get her little products off the ground. So I just threw some bread at her. I was like, hey man, she was like, oh no, this is a sample. I was like, no, go ahead, take it. Let me tell you something. I was selling CMOS. Everybody's buying CMOS from me. That sister didn't purchase a single pint because she was a hater bitch. That's why. And I don't give a fuck because a lot of motherfuckers are like that look like us. And that don't bother me at all. Nigga, money is green, not black. Your job is to know what you're supposed to do with money and how to recycle those dollars. So whether you purchase it from me or not, I got thick skin. I'm going to keep purchasing from black businesses. I'm going to keep doing what the fuck I'm doing. And I don't let that shit bother me. Because that's a bum ass bitch mentality. And that's an ain't shit mentality anyway. Wait, so could they have played a part in hip hop when we allowed them into our space? So how could okay. You know what? I'm not negating the fact that the Latino community played a portion. But I'm not going to go as far to say they created hip hop and they deserve 50% of it. Stop, Fat Joe. Stop. You need to start reading and doing a little research. And that's the thing, man. All these other racial groups know how to infiltrate our culture and our racial pride because we're so busy not having intrinsic value in each other and trying to watch each other's pockets and do all this sucker shit. That's what I mean. I had look, like I said, I'll repeat it again. I'll never forget that shit. I was laughing. Matter of fact, it was other people from other racial groups. Matter of fact, it was Latinos that was like, damn. Look at what these Latinos, look. Dave, hey, David, I never even said it. I remember my Latino brothers. They was not Mexican though. I think Guatemalan and Honduras. I'm not sure. But they was Latino and they was like, yeah, whoop, always talking about support black business, all this other stuff, but they ain't even want to buy no CMOS from me. I was laughing because see, Latinos look at that shit and they look and be like, damn, they don't even fuck with each other. Look at how dysfunctional they are. That's why when I get on these corporate plantations, it is very difficult for me to deal with our people because our people are either Mamian, Sanborn, Coonan. A lot of our people, they don't like to listen to each other. We don't want to have intrinsic value in each other. And I've come to the conclusion where I'm only helping the willing. And if you don't want to help, if you don't want my help, cool. I don't take no offense to it. Everybody got 24 hours in a day. And I'm not going to spend my 24 hours wasting my time, my energy trying to help a nigga that don't want to help themselves. And I definitely ain't finna take that shit to heart that a motherfucker don't want to support it. I was laughing. That nigga was like, oh, I did some research. I was dying laughing. I was dying laughing. But it didn't really bother me. You know why it didn't bother me, man, David? You know why it didn't bother me, Shawnee, Tasha, all y'all? Because I'm looking at his business acumen. I'm like, well, you've been doing the same thing for I don't know how long. And this doesn't surprise me at all. It didn't surprise me. I wasn't like, well, no, man, look at that. Man, do what you do. And you know what's so funny, y'all? I'm going to tell you. You know what's so funny? I know several white people ain't questioned nothing about the motherfucking CMOS. But they bought it, though, and said it was good. So that's why I just be laughing at our people when we get around each other and then we want to show each other up. And we want to question, somebody's business acumen. And we ain't even got no business established. And if we do have one established, it's unorganized and shit ain't even together. But we want to question everybody else's. That's why I just be like, man, we don't even have value in each other. I'm telling you, this is real shit. I don't care. It doesn't bother me because I've never looked at it I never looked at it for black folk to come out in droves and support. Black folk don't even want to support the big time YouTubers that got millions of subscribers. Black folk don't even want. That's other racial groups that's supporting black folk. I know how black folk are, because once we get too big, black folk start to get irritated. They don't like it. They get pissed off. They start counting your money. They feel like, I just noticed it with the brother Tariq Nasheed. I was like, damn, man, motherfuckers can't be counting this pocket, like, because the museum. See, I'm from LA, so I know how that real estate shit works. You know what I'm saying? So I know you're not going to be able to just buy and purchase no building off Crenshaw when they put a subway there. Nigga, they not letting you do that. So I already knew it was going to take a minute. But it was just so funny how people was like, oh, he's scamming and all that stuff. It's like, damn, I ain't never seen so many people. Just don't patronize his business. If you don't like what another black person is doing with their money, just don't patronize their business. Why do you have to go out of your way to do all this goofy sucker shit? Because, again, not having value in yourself. When a nigga wants something for free and they know you working because you trying to do something to better yourself and they still want something for free, just get the fuck away from them. You have to restore order in who you are. You have to take your culture back. When you're dealing with people that are not a part of your culture, not a part of your racial group, and you hear them saying slick shit, or they think because they cool with you, they can get away with saying that, you got to check that shit and be like, look, bro, that's not the type of party, and I don't play like that. You know what I mean? Then people will see and be like, okay, well, shit, they don't play like that. I think a lot of times black folk don't want to stand up because they don't want to offend nobody. I think a lot of rappers out there don't want to say nothing about what Fat Joe's commenting on, but because they don't want to offend them. That's what it is. They doing the same thing to our black leaders as well. That's a fact. Any thought leader that you have, and if you notice, a lot of these people, I keep saying this, when you start having disagreements with people on our history, man, you throw books at these people. Stop trying to argue with them off a Google argument and a Google article. I remember when I was on Twitter, and I just kept saying, that's fucked up what happened to the white Jewish community. But damn, that happened in Europe. And y'all had a part in the slave trade too. So then I started taking pictures of the relationship between blacks and Jews and putting it on there. And them motherfuckers was calling me anti-Semitic. I'm like, this ain't anti-Semitic. Your authors, your white Jewish scholars wrote this book. What are you talking about? Have you read the book? Because most racial groups, they have not read anything. They just going by what somebody told them. Like I told you before, I remember I was working with another Latino. He was like, yeah, because we built this country. I was like, no, you didn't build this country. This was a long time ago, and I was like, native blacks. Because matter of fact, I read Black Labor, 2015, 2014? Yeah. Yep. And right after that, I was like, native blacks built this country. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, indigenous people that were here before everyone else built this country. Not y'all. So that's wrong. That's not true. And I remember he was just like, well, why? Because I thought the Native Americans, I was like, if the Native Americans built the United States of America Incorporated, then why would they be enslaving black folk? They would have enslaved Native Americans, and they would have let black folk do whatever the fuck we wanted because we were no threat. We were no opposing threat to the dominant societies, United States of America Incorporated. Then the motherfucker just looked like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you didn't, because you ain't read shit. That's why. That's why stop running to the rescue to these immigrants when they get their wake up nigga call. I remember, you don't think I done worked with immigrants before? Work with immigrants? Oh, I'm Haitian. Us Haitians smart. That's why I got my master's degree. But me and you working side by side, and I ain't got no degree. So what does that tell you about your little paperwork? That's fiat currency. You have a corporate plantation passport that'll get you from corporate plantation to corporate plantation, but it means nothing. It's like an infinity stone with the time variance authority. I'll say it again. The time variance authority was that show on Marvel with Loki. And if you watch any MCU, I say it all the time. What was the whole thing? Protecting the Tesseract so nobody could get the Infinity Stones. Because if they get the Infinity Stones, they'll be the most powerful. Well, when you're dealing with the time variance authority, they didn't give a fuck about the Infinity Stones because they controlled the time and the timelines and everything. And they can slow time down, speed it up, go back in time, create different timelines. So when Loki was walking through the office, And they opened up the drawer. It was 1,000 damn infinity stones in there. And that man was like, oh, you want an infinity stone? Go ahead. That don't mean shit here. And that's how these goddamn educational motherfucking immigrants think. Like, they think that they little master's degree means something over here. That don't mean shit. The dominant society will tell you what means anything to them. If they want to put value in something, they know how to put value in it. It's just time for us to put value in ourselves. So we're not allowing people to make slanderous, false truths about hip-hop and the origins of hip-hop. You know, and let me tell you something. There's no diss to Fat Joe, but these white folk, they're going to really show Fat Joe who he really is in a minute. Watch. Because they'll build you up, and when they have no more use for you, they'll discard of you. And they're only going to let you get so far. And let me tell you, a lot of these white folk don't even like immigrants. They don't even want them over here. But a lot of you immigrants have that coon, Sambo, mammy spirit. So you think getting around them, you're going to get some infinity stones and bonus points. But deep down inside, them white folk don't like you either. I was watching The Matrix this weekend, and it was just so much shit in there. And the thing that I learned the most was when the Merovingian, when Morpheus was like, everything begins with choice. No, it does not. No, it does not. Choice is an illusion between those with power and those without. Example, when you go to the grocery store, who put that food in the grocery store? And they only give you the bread that they put in the grocery store. Who put that water there? How did the water get there? They give you the choice. The dominant society is Donald Sterling. What did Donald Sterling say about those basketball players? He told them, he said, I give them their lifestyles. That's why when we had a space, and man, I was looking for it because I was going to upload it, and these brothers was like, man, y'all just making these white people be so powerful. And I'm like, this is individual talk that you're doing, because you don't understand how people were socialized and how they grew up. That's one. And two, if the dominant society wanted to squeeze the life out of the resources that they have, they can do it. It's just a lot of black folk that make it individually think, pull yourselves up out of the bootstraps. Why are you so scared of them? And it's like, and it's no diss to my brothers that we had that podcast with, you know, and I've never been to Chicago, but let me tell you something. If the United States of America Incorporated, with the architect, J. Edgar Hoover, along with Chicago PD, could assassinate Fred Hampton, that's absolute power right there. So I don't understand why we negate all the things that they have done the past 450 years, 500 years. That's crazy. And motherfuckers, when you start talking about this shit, oh, you giving them too much power. Okay, nigga, then you go start a bank. You go start a credit union. You go start a Fortune 500 company where other black folk gonna get stocks, bonds, 401k, and you'll be able to pay them a decent living and a decent wage in this society today. You can do it individually for yourself, but I'm talking about as a collective, because you're only as good as your team. So when motherfuckers like, yeah, I'm doing good for myself. Yeah, you individually, but your people are still struggling. And that's the thing we got to get away from. Motherfuckers be thinking because they're doing good individually, oh, it ain't that hard, you can do it too. And it's like, well, nigga, we talking about as a collective. We're not talking about as one person. That's all, man. It's a lot of shit that we need to do. But one thing, we need to take the culture back. I remember growing up, Latinos and even Puerto Ricans, they didn't want to have shit to do with no motherfucking black culture, hip hop, none of that. You go in a Puerto Rican house, it wasn't very many of them out there in LA. They playing reggaeton and salsa music. They didn't give a fuck about no fucking black music. And then I'm talking about the regular Latinos, shit, they didn't listen to no fucking hip hop. They didn't cut their hair like us. They didn't dress like us. They didn't do any of that stuff. Because they had what was called racial pride in who they are. And I'm glad that I did get a chance to see the Latinos have racial pride in who they were. Because now the water is muddy. They done dirtied up the water, and they're basically trying to liken their situation. And I feel like everybody trying to liken their situation to ours because they know that this reparation shit's got a real movement. And that's my last final point. reparations has such a big movement. Everybody is trying to attach themselves to black culture because they know when we do something, we set a precedent. Watch how many motherfuckers don't turn out to vote. Watch how many black folk gonna be like, nigga, if you're not doing shit for my people, I ain't vote for you. Like Eddie Griffin said, fuck y'all motherfucking Democrats. Y'all want my vote? I'ma fuck around and vote for fucking Donald Trump. You keep fucking with me. What the fuck I'm voting for y'all for? Y'all won't sign no hate crime bills for black folk. Y'all won't do nothing. You know what they do? The benign neglect. I look on Twitter, this lady, Nina Turner, some type of Democrat or whatever. I ain't heard her once talk about reparations. I heard her once talk about the atrocities that have been done to foundational black Americans. But this bitch want to talk about fucking student loan debt. And I just be like, why are you talking about, you're worse than white people. Because you're pushing their agenda so you can get an infinity stone. That doesn't even mean anything. Because when they're done, they done. They ain't want to fuck with you. What happened to Lakeisha Mammy Bottoms? Then you got the Pine Saw lady. What's that lady's name? God damn, I forgot her name. But she running for something too. But she always talking about black and brown and trying to incorporate other shit. I just be looking at her. Man, you act like the Pine Saw lady. Bitch, this ain't no commercial. Stacey Abrams. Man. All these black politicians are bought and paid for by the dominant society. So I wouldn't fuck with them. And they always pretending like they got some type of great agenda for black folk. And then after they in office, you don't hear from these motherfuckers no more. All those black folk that was pushing that Biden agenda, where they at? Where they at? Well, that was my time, man. I went way over, man. But I just wanted to talk about that shit. Because we need to start having intrinsic value in our black hip-hop artists that are foundational. And yeah, you may not agree with their message and all this other shit, and I understand that. But let me tell you something, man. Have intrinsic value in it no matter what. Because we all we got. You know what I'm saying? I get tired of that shit. That's why I'm going to say this, I'm going to end mine. I remember me and my mom used to always disagree. And we would always disagree about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. She would always be bringing up that bullshit. Oh, well, they said this. And I'm like, and I remember I told my mom, I said, Ma, John F. Kennedy was fucking so many bitches when he was in the White House. No white person comes out and says anything negative about him at all. But when you bring up the honorable Elijah Muhammad, it's nothing but black people that come out and say all this false bullshit about him. This is what I mean by we don't have a code established. And I'm going to repeat it again. John F. Kennedy wasn't just fucking Marilyn Monroe. He was fucking all kinds of bitches. Nobody says anything about it. You ain't never heard a dominant society person do a surviving John F. Kennedy. None of that shit. They don't do that shit to their people. You mentioned Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Nation of Islam, nigga just start tripping and he had all, man, who gives a fuck? Damn, he was a great businessman and he was about empowering his people, which is black folk, and giving them the knowledge of who they are. But here we are, we want to know who a motherfucker's fucking. It's like, damn, these white politicians be doing all kinds of crazy, nasty shit, but you don't never hear white people come out and talk against them. Bill Clinton was in a picture with Jeffrey Epstein with a 17-year-old bitch, and nobody said nothing. They still let that motherfucker speak at the DNC. But niggas that still want to talk shit about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or Farrakhan. I just be like, damn, y'all can't do that on the back end? Y'all got to do that on the front end? That's whack. But anyway, have intrinsic value yourself. Shout out to everybody. David from No Compromise. Go watch his podcast. It's very influential. I love his podcast, man. You already know what it is. You know what it ain't. Don't be a Sambo. Don't be a coon. Stay in your lane. Learn from others. Have intrinsic value in yourself so you can then take that value that you have in yourself and then you can restore it and have it in other black folk. So then you can recycle those dollars and you can just do things that are necessary for your lane and for your community or wherever you come from. Stop worrying about who motherfuckers is fucking and all this other shit. You know what I'm saying? What's the basis goal? Replacing the system of racism and white supremacy. So that's not productive, as Neely Fuller Jr. talks about. Don't do the four-wall effect where you just get together and there's no type of goal. We don't have no goal. We're not trying to do something. We just getting together to bullshit. Nah, I ain't into that. Stay in your lane, handle business. If you want to go to church, go to church. Dave from No Comp, man, we definitely got to have a part 3 about this black Christianity. We did a part 2, but I want to have a part 3. I'll holler at y'all, man. Hey, you already know what it is. Guilty nigga, I'm out. Peace.